All right, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the EDGE informational session for the fall round of 2024. I'm Andrea Wojcik. I'm the Communications Director for the Delaware Division of Small Business. A couple of housekeeping items. Everyone is put on mute. If you have questions, please put them in the Q&A box, not the chat. We will answer all questions at the end. You might find a business manager replying to your question directly within the Q&A, but we're going to try and give as many answers as possible at the end during the Q&A timeframe. Additionally, this webinar is being recorded and it will be placed on de.gov/edge by noon tomorrow. That and the slide deck, so you will be able to see the slides and hear the webinar recording if you forget something. And now with that, I am going to turn this over to the Director of the Division, Regina Mitchell. Regina?
Thank you, Andrea. Excuse me, please bear with me this morning. I have a little bit of a cold. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. We're going to provide a good overview of the application process and what you need to include in your proposal to give you the best chance at being successful. It looks like we have a very good crowd this morning, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Next slide. Thank you. So just want to take a second to introduce our presenters for today. So in addition to myself, we have Andrew Harton, who's our Business Finance Director. He'll be talking in more detail about the financials and the rubrics that we use to score the proposals. We also have Tom Thunstrom, who is the Center Director for the Small Business Development Center, and he'll be talking about the support that SBDC provides to our EDGE applicants. And then finally, we have advice from a previous EDGE awardee. So we have Susan Marin of Marin's Meds, who was a winner in our STEM category last fall. So excited to hear from her as well. And then finally, like Andrea said, we will do the Q&A at the end. And Andrea will be the moderator for that. So again, type any questions that you have into the Q&A box, not the chat box. We'll answer them all at the end of the presentation. And as Andrea said, some of them will be able to answer directly as you type them. And we'll repeat this several times for those who are joining us later. But this recording and the slides and the presentation will all be available at de.gov/edge by noon tomorrow. So just a little bit about our agency. The Division of Small Business is a state agency that's committed to helping businesses to start and grow in Delaware. Our office also includes the Delaware Tourism Office, as well as the Office of Supplier Diversity. And we provide support to small businesses in a myriad of ways that you can see listed there, and primarily through our 4 regional business managers who I'll introduce in a moment. Next slide. So just to quickly introduce you to members of our team. If you guys can put your cameras on real quick and give a little wave when I introduce you. Just want to make sure everybody's there. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top of my screen. So Anastasia Jackson is our Kent County Regional Business Manager. Then we have Dave Matthey, who is the Regional Business Manager for Southern Newcastle County. Siobhan White is our Director of Office of Supplier Diversity. We have Joe Zolkowski, who is the Regional Business Manager for Northern Newcastle and Wilmington. So I think that's everybody that I see.
And Lauren.
Is Lauren? Okay, and Lauren Swain is our Sussex County Regional Business Manager. Sorry, I don't see her on my screen here. Okay, thank you, everyone. Okay, so moving on to the competition itself. This application round will be our 10th round of funding since the grant program launched in 2019. So this is a picture of our very first round of winners. So since we began this program 5 years ago, we've awarded over $6.5 million to 100 Delaware small businesses. We're very excited to reach that milestone. We just did so this past spring. So very excited to have helped 100 businesses and looking forward to expanding that moving forward. Next slide. So some basic information about the EDGE grants. So we have 2 categories. We have our STEM class and our entrepreneur class. So STEM is science, technology, engineering, or math related businesses. And we get a lot of questions about this every round. An example I like to give is we kind of look at the function of the business. So if you have a business and you're providing coding education, we would consider that to be an entrepreneur category versus somebody who is like developing an app, and that would be a STEM category. So you really want to look at the function of the business when you're trying to determine which category you're in. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to one of our regional business managers. And then entrepreneur would be anybody who is not STEM class. So we give out 5 awards in each category each round. So if you're in the STEM category, you are eligible for up to $100,000. And if you are in the entrepreneur category, you are eligible for up to $50,000. And we always stress that this is a very competitive process. I think every round we usually have about 120 to 140 applications. And then of those, we whittle those down to finalists in each category who then present to a panel of outside judges. And the top scoring finalists then go on to be our winners. Next slide. So who is eligible? So you need to have been in business for less than 7 years. And we go by the year that your business was established, not by the month. So if you were established in like January and now it's August, that's okay. You're eligible for that full calendar year. Businesses have to have less than 10 full-time employees. And if you have part-time staff, we have a very simple equation. 2 part-time staff equals 1 full-time employee. And then you can see if you have part-time staff who work less than 10 hours a week or less than 4 months a year, they don't count at all, and neither do any contracted employees. Businesses have to be majority located in Delaware, and that is physical presence as well as employees. So if you have physical locations, at least 51% of them should be in Delaware, and they should be actual physical locations, not just like a PO box or like a registered agent. And then as well, your employees, if you have employees in multiple locations, 51% of them should be in Delaware. Again, we get a lot of questions about remote employees. So for our purposes, if your remote employee is you're paying payroll taxes to Delaware on them, then that is sufficient for our purposes for a Delaware employee. Next slide. Okay. So businesses also have to have net assets of less than $500,000, but there are no revenue limits to applying. If you have not started your business, you are also still eligible to apply, with the caveat that you are still responsible to include all the required documentation. So you still need to have financial statements and you still need to have an active business license for that company. And then people who are not eligible to apply are anyone who's been convicted of a financial crime. Nonprofit organizations are not eligible for this program. And then if you have been previously awarded a strategic fund, with the exception of a DTIP grant, which is a bridge grant between phase 1 and 2 of SBIR and STTR funding. So I will say, if you have been awarded a strategic fund grant, you should remember that and you would know about that. You have to appear before a public body to kind of present your application. So, but if you have any questions about that, you can reach out to our office or one of the regional business managers and they'll be able to let you know. Next slide. So this lists some of the eligible uses of grant funding versus ineligible. So really we're looking for grant funds to be used to expand your business's viability, sustainability. You can see some examples there like equipment, advertising, building improvements, rent assistance. And then our ineligible uses of funds are payroll expenses for anything that's not specific to your project. So if you're including an employee's salary who is working, on multiple things for the company, we would not consider that to be an eligible expense. Any salaries or payments that are made to the company ownership, any purchase of real estate, permits, taxes, government fees, and then any improvements to your personal residential property. Next slide. So in terms of formatting, the application should be written in Times New Roman, size 12 and double spaced. They can be a maximum of 20 pages, and that includes all of the exhibits and the financials. So your financial statements, your projections, your business license all need to be housed within that 20-page limit. And I always want to stress that you need to follow the 20-page limit. Like we said, we get 130 applications each round, and our staff reads through every application. So we instruct them not to read past page 20. So if you have included any information on page 21 is not going to be scored or counted towards your proposal. And specifically, if you have any of that required information like your financial statements or your business license on page 21, we are going to count that as not being submitted. So please pay attention to your page limit. We also have templates available on our website that you have to use. So we have one for STEM and one for entrepreneur. So please look at those, make sure that you're using the correct template for your category, and please make sure that you're filling out each section of that template. And then all applications and proposals should be submitted as a PDF electronically to edgegrants@delaware.gov. Also want to emphasize, I always recommend that you connect with your regional business manager for your area. They will be able to review your application, provide you feedback, give you some tips for what you can do to beef up your proposal, make it more successful. So just want to reiterate that. I think you'll hear that multiple times throughout this presentation, but they are a resource that's available to you. They are an asset that you should use. And then here's their contact information and their areas of service. We'll show this again at the end of the presentation. This is available on our website as well. Next slide. And then the deadline for this round of applications will be Friday, August 30th at 4:30 p.m. And again, that is a hard deadline. If you submit your application at 5 o'clock, we will not consider that an acceptable application. Just another reminder to please type your questions into the Q&A box as we continue. We will answer them at the end of this presentation. And then this recording and the slides will be available at our website at de.gov/edge by noon tomorrow. So to go through kind of the components of the application, this checklist exists as well at the beginning of the application when you download it from our website. So I just want to recommend that as you're going through and completing your application, writing your proposal, and getting ready to submit, that you are using this and you are checking things off. We see a lot of people who are missing documents or missing required components. And we hate to see that because you're not going to make it very far in the scoring rounds if you're missing any of these required components. So obviously, first of all, you want to complete the application, make sure that all components of the application are filled out. And then you want to make sure that you have signed and notarized it. You can find notaries at your bank. Libraries offer them, government offices, including the post offices. The rubrics are also available on our website and at the end of the applications. So you should be looking at those and making sure that you are aligning your proposal to the rubric. And then in terms of the proposal, again, make sure you're using the templates that we have available and making sure that you are using the correct template for your category and that you're completing all sections of that template. And then you can see the requirements again for formatting. So the font, double-spaced, 20-page maximum, you've made it into a PDF, and that you have included all of those required pieces such as the financial statements, the detailed project budget, and the copy of your current state of Delaware business license. So sometimes we get like municipal licenses, and that's not what we're looking for. We are looking for the state of Delaware business license, and we are looking to make sure that it is a current license. Next slide, please. And then in terms of the proposal, we've tried to simplify this. So really what we're looking for is where your business is right now, who are your customers, what's your market, who's your competition, what do you do, how do you do it, and then what is your business need for the grant funding. And we find that the strongest proposals are very specific here and very targeted. So you want to, we don't need to throw in a whole bunch of different, I'm sure you have multiple business needs, but you really want to tailor that to something specific, something that tells like a very clear narrative of like, here's where we are, this is what we need, and this is where that is going to get us. So I think that usually tends to be the strongest proposals, have that very clear narrative throughout. And then in terms of market size, we do expect EDGE applicants to do a little bit of research for their application. So we want to hear about the size of your target market. Like I said, we want to know who your customers are. Where are they? Why are they your customers? Who is your competition? Who else would they go to if not for you? Or who are they going to now that you're trying to pull from? Where do you fall in that market? And especially, I'd like to stress, please don't put that you don't have any competition. Maybe you're the only person providing that specific service, but there's always some sort of competition. A really basic example that I think we use in this webinar every time is that, so if you're a florist and there are no other florists in your area, that does not mean that you don't have any competition. People, if they're not going to get flowers, they're going to buy something else. So are there bakeries nearby? Are there like gift shops or card shops and things like that? So you really want to be thinking like big picture. And then we also have a tool available for you to use called Size Up Delaware. And that will give you a ton of information about market sizing and information on competition. So you can see the website there at delaware.sizeup.com. And in addition to that, the company Size Up also offers office hours that we can provide for you. So every other Wednesday at 2 p.m., if you have specific questions about how to use the tool, or you kind of want to have them walk you through it in more detail, you can sign up for that. And then the last one finally is that, your application should also outline the challenges that your business face. We understand that all businesses have challenges and we expect to see that, but we also really want to hear how the EDGE grant can help you address those challenges. And now I'm going to turn it over to our business finance director, Andrew Harton, and he again is going to go through some of the financial information and then discuss some of the rubrics. Andrew?
Thank you, Regina. All right, so on to everyone's favorite topic, the financials. So first things first, as Regina mentioned, with your EDGE application, you have to include your income statement and the income statement and the balance sheet of your business. Even if your business isn't operating yet, you should have some expenses that you've incurred, right? You've at least purchased a business license in order to apply for this program. Perhaps on your balance sheet, you might have your cash match ready to go for your EDGE application. I would suggest something like that. And I'll talk a little bit more about what each of those documents are here in a minute. The best applications incorporate financial data into their proposal. So, for example, when you're putting together your return on investment or your project projections over the next 5 years, where are some of your assumptions coming from, right? So if you're trying to start a restaurant, right, and you're projecting, $1 million in revenue. Okay, well, where did that $1 million in revenue come from? You're going to have a check average. Maybe your check average is $20 a check. You're going to have a certain number of customers that you expect to see every day, or maybe an expected number of customers you see in a summer season. Those numbers should be incorporated in your proposal. And that way, the finance team, as we're reviewing your project proposal, we really have a good idea of how much thought and effort went into your proposal and how realistic your projections are. Now, in terms of evaluating financials as part of the scoring process, I think some people might be worried that their current income statement or balance sheet is going to negatively impact their application. That's not really the case. I mean, if you don't have any revenue, or if you have $1 million in revenue, we're not ranking applications by those metrics. So you can go to the next slide. We'll talk a little bit about what the balance sheet and income statement are. So the balance sheet is a snapshot of what your business owns, right? The assets of your business, and then how those things were funded, either with equity, maybe you made a down payment, or a liability, you borrowed money. So an example of this would be, your business, let's say your business, you purchased a van for your business for $20,000. That would be your asset, right? A fixed asset, your van on your balance sheet. And then maybe you put $5,000 down, you have $5,000 in equity, and you borrowed the rest, right? So you have a $15,000 liability on your balance sheet. And usually it's for, again, it's a snapshot. It's at a specific period in time. And typically that's the end of your accounting year, which a lot of small businesses are just going to use the calendar year. So let's say the assets your business has as of December 31st, 2023 would be on your application. The income statement shows the flow of revenues against expenses for a given period of time. And this is what a lot of small businesses already have and understand. This is, your revenue for 2023, maybe you had $50,000 in sales. And then below that, you'd have list your expenses, right? Maybe you lease an office, or maybe you had travel expenses. And then the bottom line, right? Your net income, that's the profit you're walking away with. So I think a lot of people have a good understanding of what the income statement is. But when you submit your application, make sure you have, for the most recent period, so in this case, it'd probably likely be the full year of 2023, you'd have your income statement for the year, and then you'd have your balance sheet as of the end of December 31st, 2023. Again, even if your business isn't yet making a profit, try to get as much detail as you can in your existing financials, so we have something to see when you submit your application. Okay, next. So this is just a quick, snapshot. Just for those who are not familiar, you have a balance sheet here on the left side of the screen and an income statement on the right side of the screen. Your balance sheet, right, may not have all of these line items, right? If you're just starting, maybe the only current asset you have is cash, right? Maybe you don't have any accounts receivable yet. Maybe you haven't purchased any inventory. But this is a good example of what your balance sheet should look something like. And then your income statement. Again, this is a very basic income statement. It doesn't need to be super detailed. We don't need to see every single line item. Just a good snapshot summary of your business and how your business operates. Next slide, please. All right, so for the EDGE application, you are required to have a match. So, this is a $50,000, like the entrepreneur grant is a $50,000 grant. But you are required to have skin in the game, right, for both entrepreneur and STEM. So if you're applying for the full $100,000 STEM grant, right, you're expected to match that with at least just over $33,000, right? And if you're applying for the full $50,000 entrepreneur grant, you're expected to match that with, again, just close to $17,000. If you don't have the full match, right, if you aren't willing to, if you don't have $17,000 that you're willing to commit to starting your small business, maybe you've set aside $5,000, maybe you've set aside $10,000 that you're ready to commit to starting your small business. You don't have to apply for a full $50,000 grant. If you have $10,000 set aside, you can apply for $30,000. So just keep that in mind. And throughout the reporting process, post grant period, you are going to be required to demonstrate this match in order to hang on to that grant funding. So keep that in mind as you prepare your application. And the match should be specific to the project. So if you're starting a cafe, your match should be all devoted to the expenses that are going to be incurred in starting that cafe, right? Maybe you want the EDGE grant to buy equipment, new coffee machines or ovens, and your match is going to be the rent for this facility that you're planning on where you're planning on putting your business. So the match should be project specific. And that's really important. It's all about, as Regina mentioned earlier, the narrative of your project, and what you're trying to accomplish with the EDGE grant. And you can use other grants for your match. Maybe you've gotten funding from another source, and that funding is going to be your match. That's okay. It doesn't have to be private sector match. It can be from another public source. All right, so these rubrics, so we're going to go through just kind of briefly the entrepreneur rubric. This rubric for the entrepreneur category and for the STEM category, both of these rubrics are found on the application at the bottom. And I can't stress enough that you need to be, in order to be competitive, you need to be referring to this rubric throughout your proposal preparation. And you need to live on the right side of this rubric if you want a chance at winning, right? So you can see how it's pretty clear how these are scored, right? This particular section, business need, is scored. And you want to address every item here on the right side of the rubric in the 26 to 30 point range, because remember, this is a competition. If we have 140 applications, right, and you need to be in that top 10, all of those top 10, even the top 20, are all living on this side of the rubric. So just a couple like pro tips for each of these sections. For business need, you really need to have a compelling explanation for why the grant is essential to your business. And in order to do that, you need to address each section here. You need to come up with a couple alternatives. So what else have you considered aside from the grant, right? If you are using the grant to purchase a vehicle, have you considered financing the vehicle? Have you considered the impact that would have on your ability to run the business? And the business need should be clearly tied back to your budget, right? So if you want a $50,000 entrepreneur grant because you really want to promote your business and blow up your marketing, right? Then your budget should reflect that, right? Your budget should have, an advertising line item. Your budget should talk about maybe different events or sponsorship opportunities that you have already, that you plan on targeting. So make sure your business need and your budget really are tied together. Next up. All right, return on investment. So this is something, that we really want to see, which is with the EDGE grant and without the EDGE grant, how do you anticipate your business performing? And in order to do that, you're going to need to come up with projections, and you're going to need to look over the next 5 years, right? Here's what I anticipate my revenue to be over the next 5 years and my expenses, with the EDGE grant and without the EDGE grant. And the EDGE grant should make a really big impact on your business, right? Again, it's a competition. The businesses that can show the EDGE grant is really a game changer are going to be at a greater advantage to those who just say, well, the EDGE grant would just kind of improve my bottom line a little bit. So the other thing to consider here is what happens if you don't get the EDGE grant, right? What happens if things don't work out? You should be, or if your projections don't go as planned, right? Maybe what happens if I achieve half of the revenue that I projected? So just considering all of those scenarios in your proposal makes us aware that you have put a lot of thought into your business, and that'll give you the best chance. All right, so competitive advantage gained. So again, this is not only is the EDGE grant a competition, but your business is competing with other businesses, right? So you really want to convince us that your business has a competitive advantage over others, right? Or that you have some sort of moat that is going to protect your business over the long term. In order to do that, you're going to need to have a really thorough analysis of the competition. As Regina mentioned earlier, please do not say you have no competition. That is not going to lead to a winning EDGE proposal. Consider all competitors, all feasible competitors in your proposal. Why is your proposal the most effective way from point A to point B, right? And really, we want to see a lot of customer insights. We want you to demonstrate to us that you understand your market and who your customers are. So if you're opening a small shop in Dover, we want you to really focus on your customers in Dover. We don't want you to talk maybe too much about nationally, right? We want you to have some local statistics and local data supporting why your business would be successful. All right, next slide. Our community impact, right? So obviously, if you start a business, you're creating jobs in the community. That's great. But what other types of impacts, would your business have? Are you providing a much needed place for the community to gather? Do you sponsor Little League teams? What other ways do you give back to the community? Those are all included in your community impact. All right, and then there's a couple bonuses that are provided. So if you're a women-owned business, a minority, or a veteran-owned business, at least 51% of the business is owned by a woman, a veteran, or minority, then you get a little a bonus status there. If it doesn't apply to you, that's fine. And then you can also get a bonus for the geographic location of the business. So if your business is located in an opportunity zone or a downtown development district, then you can get kind of bonus points for that as well. Next up. All right, so just opportunity zones, downtown development districts, what are these? These are like targeted economic development zones. So they're typically, economically distressed areas, areas that are in need of additional businesses to come in and open up. On the application, you'll see a link to opportunity zones and a link to downtown development districts. They each have their own map. If you already know your business address, you can just simply type it in and determine whether or not your business is in one of these locations. If you are applying as a new business, then we need to see evidence that you're going into one of these places. So, for example, if your application just says, "Oh, I'm considering opening up in an opportunity zone or downtown development district," that's not really adequate to get the bonus. If you say, I've got a letter of intent to lease a location at 50 Market Street, which is in a downtown development district, or this is the building that I'm working on fixing up to support my business. That's another story that we can consider. All right, next up. All right, again, deadline for applications is August 30th at 4:30 p.m. So, all right, so just a brief talk about the after application submission. So all applications go through 4 rounds of review. The first round is quite simply, did you include everything on that checklist on the first page? So if you did not include everything on the first page of the EDGE application on that checklist, you're not even making it past round 1. You could have an amazing proposal and everything put together, but you didn't include your financials or you didn't include your business license. That kills us when we see that, because it's really a shame to just have to eliminate an application before we even really get a chance to dive into it. And then there's a second round of judging that's is determining which applications we would consider good. And then there's a third round of judging, which is our great applications, really our finalists. And then there's even a fourth round, which involves presentation opportunity in front of a panel of judges until finally we select a winner. So, and the time frame for that is, again, this will go on into right around October. All right, after the award, you will execute a grant agreement with the division. This will stipulate a couple things. A few things I want to point out. One, EDGE grant. The EDGE grant funds are to be expended within 1 year. So keep that in mind, even when you're preparing your proposal. This is for a project that we expect you to execute within a year. This EDGE grant funding is not for you to hold on for 3 years to operate your business, right? So that's very important. The other thing is that to keep in mind is that your business has to remain in Delaware for the next 5 years. So you're really committed to Delaware when you accept an EDGE grant. So don't plan on relocating to Pennsylvania or Maryland anytime soon. Another thing to think about, EDGE grants, are they taxable? Are they not taxable? We get this question all the time. EDGE grants are taxable income. There's no special exempt status for our EDGE grants. If you have any particular questions about how to declare that income, then we suggest you talk to your accountant for your specific business. Next up. Again, any questions can go in the Q&A box. And next up, all right, I'm going to pass this off to Tom from the SBDC, who's our resource partner and can help you fill out your proposal and get a win.
All right. Thank you very much, Andrew. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tom Thunstrom. I'm the Center Director for the Delaware Small Business Development Center, or the SBDC. We are a partner of the state of Delaware and as well the Small Business Administration. I'm going to spend a couple of moments talking about some best practices and some pro tips for your EDGE grant. Ideally, the biggest pro tip is start today, don't start in late August, and you will be in a good spot. But I'll talk a little bit more about what the SBDC has to offer. Next slide, please. Some background on us. We are a Delaware organization. We're in all 3 counties. We have offices in Georgetown and at the University of Delaware in Newark. That's where we're hosted out of. Our services are free and confidential. We work on what I consider the Georgetown rules or the Newark rules, which means that's what's said in the room stays in the room. We do not share your information with others unless you give us explicit permission to do so. Otherwise, we keep everything under confidence and keep it under wraps. Next slide, please. Throughout Delaware, we've worked with a lot of clients and have worked in just about every corner of the state. And I tend to say to folks when I talk about the SBDC, if you throw a rock down a main street or down Route 1 at the beach, it's pretty common that you're going to see us impact a business or that we've touched a business, help them either start, help them grow, helped the owner that's in that business buy the former owner out when that owner decided to retire or sell. And, we've helped businesses throughout every corner of the state and just about every industry within the state over the past 40 years. 20,000 clients counseled and over 4,000 jobs created. Next slide. And have helped to generate over $250 million in capital through loans, grants, and then also almost $1 billion worth of government contracts as an organization. So we do quite a lot of work. We've worked with quite a lot of your friends and a few of the folks on the call today. Next slide. So some of the things the SBDC does, besides helping on EDGE grants, we help with business planning. We help you identify and obtain capital. We help develop resiliency and continuity strategies. I already mentioned the government contracting piece. And we also help you with any sort of digital marketing, e-commerce or marketing strategies as well. We also, as part of the partnership with the state of Delaware, are their technical advising partner for the SSBCI program, which is a completely separate program. But we do offer technical assistance, training, support, and help businesses obtain capital through that program. Next slide. So a couple of best practices. So like I said already out of the gate, number one, start working on this now. If you work on it now, the less stress you will be before the deadline, which is at the end of August, not the end of February. Make sure you note in your project budget what the plans are in terms of how your money is going to be spent. What part of your budget goes to EDGE? Where is it going to be sourced from your own personal funds or from a loan or from another source of financing, such as a grant or any sort of investor equity? So it's important to be really specific about what you're looking for. It's important to be specific about how much it's going to cost. So just don't write, hey, I need $50,000 to help my business. It's like, what are we going to spend that $50,000 on? And then above and beyond that, what are you bringing in from outside, from your own personal capital or from financing to be able to support that? Next slide. Remember that in the proposal, you need to include 5 years of financial projections. You want to show how your EDGE grant is going to also result in additional sales, that it could lower debt costs if it's one of the pathways to helping you with your business, and an increased bottom line. Remember, you're using the state's money. They want to see what the return on their investment in you is going to be. It's really important to show that and to articulate that in the grant. So it's not just helping my business succeed, it's being able to quantify that. And that's where we can try to help you in that process. Your financial projections should include scenarios for how you'll perform with the EDGE grant. And I typically suggest to include how you're going to perform without it. You really want to be able to spell out the impact on your business's bottom line and its success for you. The biggest thing that we can help you with or help you understand with this is that when you do win, you do want to track and account for your expenses because the state's going to want a reporting on it, as Andrew mentioned earlier. And we do have resources that can help you out with ensuring that you're managing the grants should you get awarded. Next slide. So our role in the process is to work with the Division of Small Business. We're a partner in this relationship with you. So you do want to reach out to the Division of Small Business and their RBMs before you reach out to us. They will connect you to us directly and they will refer you over. We do meet with clients by Zoom, and we will work with you to review and improve your grant proposal and your financial projections. We are not grant writers, but what we will do is help you take a look at your grant and identify areas where you can improve upon it and can come up with a stronger application and a stronger budget to ensure that your grant's in a better position to succeed. Our best advice is reach out to the RBM today. They will refer you over to us so that we can get you on the calendar to meet with us soon, because typically with the EDGE grant, we work with quite a few clients. So the sooner that you get to us, the sooner you can get in for a meeting. Next slide. And if you want more information on the Delaware SBDC, the trainings that we do, the events that we offer, feel free to check out our website. Back over to Andrea. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Susan Bree. I'm sorry, from Marin's Med. She is one of our STEM winners from the 2023 round. So that's Susan Dubry. And we're really excited to have her here. Her camera may not be working today, but you'll at least be able to hear her voice. So Susan, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you very much. And yes, there's gremlins in my camera. Oh, there we are. Can you see me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, my name is Susan Dubray. I am the CEO of Marin's Med. I am one person of a 3-person team consisting of Daryl Dubray, our CTO and chief engineer, who is a 33-year amputee, and Steve Burke, our chief financial officer. Marin's Med received a fall 2023 EDGE grant in the STEM category. Marin's Med is a prosthetics innovation company. We specialize in medical devices for upper limb amputees. Our industry has a problem. The #1 selling medical device for upper limb amputees in the United States today was designed in 1908. Problems with device functionality and durability has led to a 50% abandonment rate of medical devices for upper limb amputees. Our device promotes prosthetic acceptance by enhancing functionality and ensuring durability. Our mission is to empower users to play hard and work hard and push boundaries. Next slide. We sought non-dilutive EDGE grant funding to move our medical device, the ProHensor, from a working prototype to a final manufacturing design. And I am proud to share that we are going to take our final manufactured design ProHensor, which we affectionately call the ProHook, to the Amputee Coalition National Convention the first week of August. And I can also say that this would not be possible without EDGE grant funding. So, next slide. What worked for us? We started out with a bit of serendipity. We began participating in the IDEA Lab at the University of Delaware. It's a program by the SBDC designed to help small businesses and companies understand their value proposition and then learn how to communicate it effectively. And that was our vehicle. We met advisor Elise Hall there, and she has become our mentor. She suggested that we go to the pitch day for the spring 2023 EDGE grant STEM category that was held at Delaware State University. That made all the difference for us. When we saw the presenters, we could see ourselves doing it, and that has made all the difference. Also, while we were there, we met Anastasia Jackson. Shout out to her. Whether she knows it or not, she handed us a roadmap, a big dose of enthusiasm and confidence, and pushed us, and we went with it. Also, I wanted to make sure that everyone knew that the rubric, which is on the website, that was our guide. It is the matrix for the judges, and it is very important to remember that it is a competition. So in the analogy, you have to give the judges what they want so that you can score points and make it happen for yourself. We accepted constructive criticism, which isn't always easy in the STEM category because we all have egos, but we accepted constructive criticism from those that we reached out to early and often. And I wanted to give a shout out to Lauren Swain and Tom Thurmstrom, and also our fellow business people at the IDEA Lab. Invaluable. And then practice, and then more practice, and then we practiced. And I think my dog heard our presentation more than anyone, to be honest. And but it made a big difference in our impact. And I also wanted to tell you that, you know, you can absolutely reach out to me if you have any additional questions, or if you happen to know someone that would benefit from an upper body medical device that works and plays as hard as they do. So Once again, I just wanted to thank the EDGE Committee and the SBDC for giving us this opportunity. So thank you.
All right, we are tossing it back to Director Regina Mitchell at this point.
Thank you. So I'm going to run through these last couple slides a little quickly because I know we're a little pressed for time. So just first of all, just thank you to Andrew and Tom and to Susan for joining us this morning. This is the end of the formal part of our webinar, but we want to make sure that you follow our division on social media for important updates on the EDGE program and other resources that we can provide to your small business. You can see that all of our social media handles are listed there. Next slide. And then we also really want to encourage you to sign up for our e-newsletter through our website. Our newsletter is distributed every Wednesday morning, and it has, again, updates on EDGE and a lot more helpful information about resources that may be available to your business. Next slide. And then again, I'm sure you've heard this throughout the presentation, but want to encourage any small businesses who are considering applying for EDGE to contact our office for assistance through one of the above mentioned ways. You can see our website, our email, our phone number, and then again, our regional business managers. Here's their contact information. This information is also available on our website. And then as well as Siobhan White, who again is the director of our Office of Supplier Diversity. So you can learn more about what it means to become a certified diverse supplier within the state. Next slide. Our deadline for applications for this round is Friday, August 30th at 4:30 p.m. That is a hard deadline. Please pay attention to it. Please get your proposal in before that deadline. We will be posting this recording. We'll be posting the slides and the presentation at de.gov/edge by noon tomorrow. And I think we are ready to move into the Q&A section. Andrea, if you want to start that, and if any of my staff want to join back in for this part.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, now the first thing I'm doing is I'm rolling the slides back to the business manager's contact information, because typically towards the end of the presentation and throughout the presentation, honestly, we've been getting a lot of questions. What was their contact information again? So you see Joe, he has the Wilmington area and northern Newcastle County. David has south of Wilmington, the southern part of the county. And then Anastasia has Kent County and Lauren has Sussex County. So yes, we will be posting the webinar. We will be posting the slides. I've also gotten requests if we will be posting answers to the Q&A. We will do that this time. And most of the questions that we had during the presentation were actually answered during the presentation. Let's see. And
if it's helpful, yeah, I was glancing at some of them and I just want to make some clarifying points. I think we saw a lot of questions about the matching component. So just want to clarify for everybody, your match should be spent after you have been awarded the EDGE funding. So if you've invested in your business up to this point, we understand that, but that is not considered, matching for the grant dollars. The match again should be project specific. So if you're trying to figure out how much you should apply for, like if you're getting $100,000 from us, your total project should be at least $134,000, with $34,000 of it coming from you and $100,000 of it coming from us. We don't care where the match comes from, as long as it's not from us. So if you have a loan, if you have other grant funding that you have access to, if you just have, resource like your assets of your business, that's all fine. But again, that needs to be specific to the project. You can't just be using that money for general business expenses and assume that that is your match. Your match should be specific to the project. It should be spent after your grant has been approved. And then the way that it works, I know Andrew went over this before, but when the awards are given, the winners have a year to spend that money and then report back to us. So you don't need, it's not like you need to have that cash in your account the day that you win the award, but in that next year, when you're submitting your reports back to us, we're going to be looking for documentation that you also have spent $34,000 on this project as well. So I think that kind of covers the general area of questions that I saw related to the match.
And as another resource that we provide on de.gov/edge, there is a document that lists eligible and ineligible expenses, as well as what is eligible for a match and not eligible for a match. So that document is called Budget and Matching Guidelines, or Budget and Matching Template, but I think it's guidelines. So you can refer to that as well. And there's also an EDGE fact sheet on de.gov/edge. One of the questions that was posed is, when is the next round of EDGE after this one? That will be our spring 2025 round. That will most likely open on February 1st. We will have another information session before the next round opens, so you can certainly sit in on that again. And another person asked, if we're not selected this time, can we apply again? And the answer is absolutely. In fact, we encourage it. As long as you continue to fall into the guidelines of employees and time frame, you can definitely do that. We've had several winners who applied more than once and they didn't make it previously, but maybe it was their second round or third round. And so we always say, if you don't get it, please try again. It's not a no, it's just a not yet. And let's see. All right, here's one. What does the reporting back look like? Perhaps this is an Andrew question.
Yep. So basically the reporting back is quite simple. So at the end of 1 year, you'll have your expense report, and that's going to be all of your invoices, receipts, proof of payment for the grant and match, right? That's at the 1 year mark. And then for the next 5 years after that, you're going to have just a simple annual report that's going to ask you about your current employment, your business's revenue, your assets, and a couple other just really simple metrics. So the reporting isn't overly complicated or burdensome.
Thank you. Here is another great question. Are there any grants out there that help businesses that are expanding under their current license if they are more than 7 years old?
Yeah, well, so grants specifically, or loans, or what are we talking about here exactly?
I would recommend that you reach out to either one of our regional business managers or Andrew to talk through like the specifics of your situation and what programs might be available to you. But there are a number of I think areas that we could direct you to.
Great. All right. Anybody else? Back on the business manager's contact list.
I saw a question asking about feedback for their proposals earlier. And if you reach out to your business managers, one of your business managers, yes, we can review it. I would like to say, the due date is the 31st. So if you try to get it to one of us on the 31st, I'm sorry, the 30th?
30th. Yes.
Okay, on the 30th, yeah, we definitely may not be able to get back to you in a timely matter. So reaching out to us a little bit earlier is better. And also just taking the time to review this webinar is definitely a great tool to help you through getting your proposal in.
Thank you, Anastasia. And I think too, some of the questions that came through, I think were specific to like individual businesses. So just want to encourage you, if you have any of those questions, reach out to one of your regional business managers or to our office and we'll connect you to who you need to talk to. But if you have something that's like a very specific question, we're happy to talk it through with you.
Yeah, a question just came up about office space, and yeah, it's okay if you're online only if your office is in Delaware.
Yes. Yes. And if you don't, I think we addressed this a little bit, but if you're like, working out of your home, then you should be living in Delaware. Wherever you're working from, we're taking that as like your physical space. So that should be in Delaware, 51% in Delaware.
And if you're not in an opportunity zone, you can still apply. You just don't get the points for that on the rubric.
And honestly, it's only 5 points. I mean, yes, 5 points can make a difference, but hopefully your proposal is strong enough that the 5 points won't make a big difference. Another comment on the rubrics, to reinforce what Andrew said, please make sure you're using the correct rubric for your category. The STEM rubric is structured differently than the entrepreneur, meaning the order of these sections is different. So you want to make sure you're using the correct one there. Let's see what else.
And the other thing, Andrea, is the template. Using the template that has the sections broken down, that's important as well.
Yes, that's that was also what I meant. So make sure you use the correct template. One of the changes that we made this year to the templates, and please note, if you have already previous to say 5 o'clock last night, downloaded the application or a proposal template, push those to the side and transfer the things that you were working on there into the ones that are currently on the website today, because we updated the application. A lot of things, honestly, we just moved around. But for instance, in the application, we clarified that just because you've been convicted of a crime does not necessarily make you ineligible for this grant. But if you've been convicted of a financial crime, you are prohibited from applying for the EDGE grant. And within the proposal templates, what we did is we added specific locations within the proposal templates to say, this is where we want your business license to go. This is where we want your income and balance sheet statement to go. So those were not in place last time. So there are more formatting changes than anything. And I remember the other thing I was going to mention, when you're looking at the points that are available on the rubric, just remember that there are a range of points. So you're not automatically going to get the top end of the range of points. The scoring is set up so that the internal review committees can assign you anywhere in that range of points. So just be aware. All right, are there any other questions? It looks like folks have done a good job of answering them as we go. You are welcome. Would we receive our feedback from our proposal if we do not win? Yes. Your business manager, the one you worked with, and again, we highly encourage you to work with a business manager, will be able to reach out and provide you feedback on where you can strengthen your proposal the next time.
And they will have to reach out to us because we get lots and we don't know if everybody's going to want feedback. So just reach out and let us know that you do want feedback.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Any last questions? Okay. Regina, would you like to wrap things up and send people off?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you again to Tom and to Susan for sharing their knowledge with us, and to my team for joining and answering all these questions. Again, I'm sure you've heard it like 92 times today, but you should please reach out to one of your regional business managers or our office for help on your proposal. And we look forward to reading all of your proposals on August 31st. So good luck.